Hi there. Just wanted to record a quick, or it might be long, sort of vlog entry. I just went for my eye test, and I'm in a bit of a state afterwards. I think I was just struggling with my sort of mental health in there, and it was really hard to communicate that, or to just feels like I wasn't able to. And walking on the way back home, it's just so many things going through my head of trying to understand, and it was almost going through my head too fast for my mind to grasp and to process it almost. But I thought maybe doing an entry would be helpful for me, just to ease some of that sort of mental torment, so I can describe it. But maybe it would help just describing how it went, how I felt. As soon as I kind of went in, they sat me down at a first table and asked me some questions, and immediately I just felt uneasy there. Feels like the most simplest things are becoming more difficult. I was just sat there at the table, something about it was just uncomfortable. You're just asking my details and my address, and he asked why did you qualify for NHS test or something similar to that, or what, and I said it. He seemed to say it really loud, and I don't know if I said it. Maybe I said it quietly that I'm on universal credit. There was an embarrassment about that, but and I went in for the kind of different sort of tests that are involved in getting your eyes checked. So I had to kind of rest my head on this little device for some scans to happen, and there's one that puffs air into your eyes, which that was a bit. And there's a few times where it didn't go through properly, and I was like, oh my god, am I gonna? I was trying desperately to keep my eyes open for it to. I think perhaps I was closing my eyes, so it wasn't going through. Then I was shipped off, and I was shown to another, I think the optometrists themselves, where I was asked some initial questions, and they were asked so quickly. It was just, like, is any of your family have diabetes, and similar questions like that, or glaucoma. And I think one of the questions, she almost answered it before I answered. It was like, do you have this? Yep, okay. And I was just like getting my answer right, and I was aware of what was happening. Like, she was so fast, I just couldn't slow myself down. It's sometimes hard to realize that you're in control of your own pace of speech, of responding to questions, that you don't have to. But there's something about it where you just fall into their flow of speediness. Like, you don't want to be fast, you don't want it to be, for it to speed up or anything. But it's like going down a waterfall or a rapids. You're trying to slow down, you realize what's happening, you just feel it's out of your control. Then I had those ones where you kind of look at the letters, and they give you different lenses, and they say, is the first one clear or second one? And it was just so stressful to try, and it's so mentally exerting to try and, then there's a bit of OCD there as well, of just, was the first one really clear, or was it the second one? Then immediately there's another set of lenses, and of course they played a trick of giving you the same lenses but asking you in a different order. So I was aware of that as well. I was like, I was aware of the pattern that person was doing, and then she kind of double bluffed and sort of, felt like she switched them, but she didn't really switch them. And I managed to, maybe it's good to acknowledge myself, I managed to say, it was so desperately hard to try and explain that I probably didn't do it in a good way at all, that I was kind of trying to say to her, like, I'm not sure how accurate I am with these lens A and lens B, and is my prescription going to be based on that, because I didn't want to give her inaccurate information and get like an inaccurate prescription. But I don't know if she really processed it. I can't remember what she said about that. I was trying to word that all the tests I'd done previously, did those all collate together to create the prescription? But I don't think I was understood. I didn't feel understood, and then I just felt confused after it. I was like, okay, but I was desperately trying to tell her that I just don't trust myself with telling you which lens is clear and which is not. I'm doing my best, but and then I saw a third person, actually fourth person, because I saw the initial guy when I got through the door who asked me about my NHS status or details, and then I saw another person for the eye tests, the scan and puff of air, and now I'm seeing a third person who's the optometrist, lens A, lens B person. And then the fourth person I saw was dealing with just the eyewear and ordering the prescription. And it was strange because the person was just super nervous. Her hands were shaking, and it made me feel really nervous. I was already struggling, and it just felt really awkward, and I felt bad for her as well. She just seemed really nervous, and I was wondering, is it me that making her nervous? And I was like, no, it's okay. And then again, it felt quite rushed. The questions were answered in rapid speed, and I just felt like a train out of control. I was just kind of just hanging on, just kind of trying to answer them as she was saying them, and she was talking, and she was talking quite quickly as well, and it might be because of the nerves. And then there was one time where, she had to come close, and it's almost just like plastic ruler to kind of put over, to level my eyes to see the measurements for what my eyewear would be. And I just know how to describe it. It just felt really difficult to do and uncomfortable. Like, I didn't mind her being up close and stuff. It's just to try and stay still. And then I think our manager came down to redo that test, and then, she was like, you sit up straight and lower your chin, and I was like anxious about doing it wrong, I think. I think that was the theme of the whole appointment, is just anxious about not being accurate or doing it wrong. And then they asked about the anti-glare for the glasses. That cost £30+, and thankfully I'm getting the prescription for free via the voucher for Universal Credit. And again, I couldn't process the question really. I just went on my old programming. I remember last time when I didn't get the anti-glare, I think when I was in the car driving, it was I could see the glare problem happening, and I thought, next time I'll get the anti-glare. So I was just kind of going off my old thinking really. I wasn't able in the moment to process whether I could afford to pay the £30. I just didn't. I just went off that, and I just said, yeah, sure, let's have the anti-glare. And I think in one of the tests before, they asked me there's an optional special scan you're going to have to see, I think it detects 4 years early if you have glaucoma or something like that. And it was £10, and it was just easier to say no than to have to process, or, is this going to be beneficial, or is this just some sort of scheme to make money, where there's a really low risk of, in terms of my age, of having that? And like, I really wish I could ask them like a behind the scenes question of, I'm below 30, is it likely to have it? And maybe if they were allowed to tell me, I'd be like, yeah, no, it's not worth you getting that test, until you're like 60. But I didn't have that information. I was just, obviously that's their job to kind of sell as well, make money. So I was just curious, I was just confused whether it's just them, whether it was important for me to get it or not, or was it just something, they offer to everyone, so it's just, even though it may not be important for that person, it's just is extra money for them. Yeah, then I got outside and I just stood there not knowing what to do. I was just recovering really, and I was next to a supermarket, and I just thought, okay, what am I going to have for lunch and dinner? And I just couldn't think of anything what to do, as I couldn't think of what food I had, whether to get some food from outside. The noodles I cooked yesterday, somehow I used up like 3/4 of a bottle of soy sauce on the noodles. I must not have just, I don't know what happened there. So when I tasted last night, it was just so saturated in soy sauce, and I looked up about soy sauce, and it's saying it's not healthy to have a lot of it. It's obviously lots of sodium, I think. And I just had like 3/4 of a bottle of it, and I'm sure that's like such a high amount. So I can't eat any more of that kind of food I cooked yesterday. I just stood there just thinking, okay, what can I have for lunch? And my mind was just not cooperating with me. And one thing that just screamed at me as I got outside is just that I involuntarily mask my symptoms of mental health. Because I was standing there thinking, I can't think of what to have for lunch, and it's like an issue here. It's not like, and then in 2 weeks time I'm going to have to try and explain why I can't work at the moment, and that example probably won't come to mind, or I won't be able to speak up for myself to say that I couldn't even think of what to have for lunch. I couldn't even process, I just can't organise that in my mind. It just felt like there's nothing there. And then there's another side of me thinking, am I just blowing all of this out of proportion? I don't know if there's something in there where there's some denial, or there's some thing in me that's saying, you'll be okay, you're just making a big deal out of it, and it's hard to know what to believe. Because part of me just wants to quit this whole process of universal credit and just try and get some kind of work that's not stressful. And then there's and I think I've been through this process before. I started looking for jobs, so then the stress kind of built up, and the unwellness became more and more clear. And it just, but then when that goes back down again, and I'm in this position again where I'm thinking, oh, just screw it. Like, am I just making a big deal out of it? Let's just try and find some work and get out of this whole system, and also just kind of putting my energy, or all of this mental health stuff just takes out so much energy as well. And almost feels like I just want to pack it away in a suitcase and just go to work and do work. But I know it's not as simple as that. But masking my symptoms, that was such a breakthrough thought. I'm sure I'm aware of it as well, and I think I wrote it in my notes in my phone so I can say it at an appointment, and every time I interact with a health person I can say I think I wrote that I'm not good at articulating myself, which is true, but it wasn't I wasn't being completely clear in regards to masking symptoms. Those are two similar but separate things. They articulate myself they kind of overlap with masking symptoms, but they're also separate things. And that's just not done me any favors at all. Like, I've had like a PIP interview before, I've had other universal credit interviews, and I remember one leaving it saying, the lady was just saying, you just need to start small, do volunteer work and do this. And, it just felt like when I left there, I just felt like I wasn't heard at all. It was just, and there's no surprising, I guess. They've just got the data you give them. So that's the really frustrating and difficult thing. Like, I'm not giving them the right information for myself. And I wish there was someone there that could see me or see through that. But I guess they're not trained, they're not health people, or they're not. I just felt like having to offload that sort of eye test situation I went through this morning. Like, I literally just got back and I'm still, my jeans are all wet and soaked, but I thought I just needed to do this now, because I think I'll do it later, and then later turns into never. Or if I was to do it later in the evening, then all of what I wanted to say would be forgotten, and it would just be frustrated, because I'd probably be left with the feelings or the unexpressed stuff inside of me. Perhaps it's a healthy outlet to say it now and here. But it feels strange even just explaining this situation, like I'm making a big deal out of it, or I have no clue if I'm making any sense. I just feel like I've lost that, or that ability is dwindling. The ability to kind of self-assess yourself to see if you're making sense or not. And I'm not sure if I am. Also, I didn't get a great start today. My counsellor had to, when I logged into my Gmail to check for the Zoom link for this morning's counselling session, there was an old email from yesterday saying that my counsellor had to go into surgery. I think it was serious. I think it was to do with her arm. They broke their arm, and that she was asking if I could see her yesterday evening. So the email was yesterday lunchtime, and for some reason the emails are not coming through to my phone. I don't know why, and I forgot to check. Like I mentioned last week, this happened last week when I mentioned it in a vlog, that the session got cancelled last week as well, and I thought to myself, I'm going to start checking the email in the mornings. So I really wanted to see her as well, to, as I mentioned yesterday, to sort out this complex PTSD stuff and to see where I stand with that. What do I have to do to get assessed? And I did write her an email. I think I wrote it this morning. Yeah, I did. I wrote it this morning to ask her for next session if we can talk about complex PTSD and whether that fits in with whether that's something I'm dealing with. And again, it feels like I have to fight for this. It's probably really unreasonable for this to happen, but I wish I was being seen. I wish someone was able to see that in me. I think you may be suffering with this, and it kind of feels like you're just out at sea by yourself, really, bouncing off just the currents, carrying you, bouncing you off from one person to the other. And it feels like I've got no one kind of advocating for me. It feels like I need that. Like I need someone to say, like when I went for my initial intake session for counselling, when that senior counsellor said, have you been, I don't know if they asked, are you on the autistic spectrum or have you been assessed for autism? And I said, in that moment I said no, but there's part of me that just felt seen, I guess, by them asking that. I wish I was kind of seen in other areas, as well, but maybe it's to do with masking my symptoms, and maybe it's not the counsellor's role to, I don't know, to kind of go down that path, or to say. And I guess in these things like complex PDs are very subtle as well, because it's really not easy to spot, and to kind of, unless, maybe there's like a long-term treatment, or there's clear patterns of stuff happening where you can think, yeah, this is the case. But so much mental health overlaps the other, like depression, symptoms of that comes in forms, overlap into so many other things like complex PTSD, or stuff that overlaps into anxiety or OCD, and I'm sure there's plenty more stuff. Maybe that's something I can share in the counselling, that I need help. What can I do? I guess I'm in some ways I'm doing it as best as I can, but maybe it's just expressing that to the counsellor as well. And as the time comes in for the universal credit appointment, I'm feeling more and more angry about it, frustrated and scared as well, and fearful. And I think the fear is the anger, and the fear is of just not being heard, of being suffocated, or not being able to express what I wanted to say. And I'm scared of what their agenda is as well for me. I think they've got me in the work capability group, so I think there's been some confusion where initially they're going to reassess me, and then suddenly that just disappeared. I don't know what's happened with that. So I'm really hoping I can just fully explain stuff to whoever I'm seeing, and their understanding of it. Because again, sometimes it feels like you're just on this rapids, you're going with their flow, like the optometrist asking me these questions, and I'm just hoping that doesn't happen in this appointment, where they just ask me questions and suddenly the appointment's ended and they expect me to just look for work, or do my CV, or whatever work capability task they want to give. But I'm going to do some preparation. I'm going to take my brother with me and do some prep. I'm going to print off, I just realised, oh yeah, I can do that after Christmas, to print off. I've set a reminder for that on my phone, to print off, to type up stuff to get printed off for universal credit, like my symptoms. And I think I've listed activities or tasks that's causing me distress. Like, I actually, just before recording, I wrote in there eye test and some symptoms, and it's frustrating because I can't be clear with that stuff, and I'm not sure how it's going to look. I'm not sure, by doing these lists, I've lost the capability to kind of assess how useful they're going to be, and if I'm repeating myself or not. I've just wrote it down as the best I can do, and I'm going to print them off and just take those things with me. Maybe also say to them that last time I spoke to a work coach, they asked me the question, are you feeling worse than you did when you were assessed? I said, yes, I am feeling worse. And I think she said, well, okay, what we'll do is we'll reassess you. So maybe I'll run that through with my brother as well. Maybe I'll say to brother what I need to be said if I'm not able to say it myself, what I need to be communicated. Maybe I'll write a little statement as well. It's kind of, I don't know. Maybe what I've got is enough preparation. It's almost like it's pressure building in me for that appointment. Like asking my counsellor about complex PTSD and writing to the GP about that. Like, there's pressure built up in it. Like, I'm already going to come up against resistance for it, or they're not going to believe me. I'm not going to be believed, And so, like, writing that email this morning helped take off the edge a little bit. So at least I've got it out there. And then hopefully, she'll bring it up in our next session to kind of talk about. I just feel scattered, and I felt angry for a while, but I feel there's like a deep anger there. Frustration as well. To try to be kind with that as well. Obviously, it's even hard to say that I've been through a lot, because it just feels like I'm making a big deal out of this by saying that. But I think it was my counsellor who said that to me, and it was really good to hear. But it was overwhelming. I think my counsellor said, you're just dealing with a lot right now, and I think one of my friends said that to me as well. That was really, just felt really validated. I was dealing with multiple things at that time, and I think she said to me that, God, you're going through so much right now, and felt like it was much needed for that to be said, to be seen and heard. So I'm still quite riled up by the appointment and by Universal Credit stuff and my health, and the counselling appointment being cancelled, which is completely understandable. I even said in the email, because I think she apologised, saying, I'm so sorry to cancel, and I think the first line I wrote is, please don't worry about today's session, it's okay. Because there's understanding there, the frustration is not at the counsellor, it's just at the situation. I'm going to try and incorporate some mindfulness this afternoon, as stressed as I feel right now, and as much as I want to just engage in all of these thoughts, and there's like almost a gravitational pull to almost go into sparring with your thoughts and churn away at stuff and try and understand, and maybe it's not the right thing to do. There's also a fear of just suddenly getting better. It probably sounds really bizarre, but there's a fear of just suddenly having a really clear day, and then it's like, where did all that stuff go? And then I can imagine that clear day falling on the Universal Credit appointment, and I'm just like completely clear and fine, and then the day after or 2 days after, I'm back here again, and the appointment is not an accurate representation of what I'm going through. Like, I can imagine me not speaking up for myself, and it's just masking the symptoms, or not giving an accurate portrayal of what's actually going on here, even though it's a really clear day I'm having. But it's a fear of just suddenly feeling better, and I've just blown things out of proportion, or I don't know, there's some other fears there about it. I just can't get it straight in my head. But maybe it's good just to acknowledge that it's been a difficult morning. Again, not one thing I do is belittle everything. So maybe it's good to acknowledge that it's been a difficult morning with the counselling stuff, with interacting with the doctor, trying to get assessed, and now, a difficult time with the eye test. Perhaps it's good, just to to be mindful. So maybe it's good to record a podcast episode, it almost forces me to be really present, because that's kind of what I'm talking about, what I'm accessing. It's more of I feel the podcast is like an outpouring it's almost like a meditation. So it's not like this where I'm just trying to express and talk about myself. It's almost going to that place of centeredness, that place of peacefulness and presence, mindfulness, and almost talking from that place, pouring that into the episode. An episode is like an outpouring of that all. And I also read from I'm reading A New Earth at the moment from there, so I think by recording the episode it will really calm me down, because I'll have to speak from that place, and in order to speak from that place, you become that place almost. You kind of fully embody that. So it may help to ground me by recording that. And I worry as well, because when I record that, my voice is so calm, and I'm, I can imagine someone listening to that and then watching this thinking, God, what's going on here? This guy, can feel like, is like feel very centered and spiritual in that place, but coming here felt like I'm being like a fraud or something. Not that I advertise that I'm a teacher or anything. It's more just the podcast is just following my spiritual journey. So it's not, but in my mind it feels like I'm being a fraud to myself, but really I'm not. It's just the way the thoughts are with that. It's why I haven't really linked these two things together. Like I don't share this with my podcast material, and I haven't shared I think I've stopped adding my link to my podcast to these videos, because I don't know, it just seems two separate things. I'm not sure if the audience watching this will be interested in that, or the other way around, especially the other way around. People could, going listen to the podcast for meditation and for guidance, for pointings, and then seeing this mess recorded here. It's so okay. Let's set some intentions this afternoon to be mindful. I might potentially nip outside and upload this video. Might be helpful to do. Might feel better to kind of have it uploaded, and it's some sort of productivity or something that I've done today, recording this. So perhaps I could incorporate some mindfulness to reduce the stress on my mind right now. I think that would help a lot. So maybe I'll consciously watch some more ER, something that's really comfortable to watch. It brings a lot of comfort to watch something I've seen before. And with food, I'm not sure what to do with food, because the noodle situation, it's probably not safe for me to eat those. And I've only really got bread. I think I want to head out as well. It's not like, it's probably going to be super busy as well, actually. So I'm definitely not going to head out, and I probably don't want to order any food because it's just the expense, and it's probably not. There's usually not an option for healthy food, and I'm not sure if I have the appetite for even if there was healthy options. But maybe I can just make do with having some porridge for lunch. I had some peanut butter on toast this morning because I was in a bit of a rush. I was like rushing out for the counselling appointment, and then outside I looked at my phone and got the email from yesterday. I was like, it's kind of the second week that's happened where it's been my fault for doing that, where I haven't checked the email. I've just rushed out at my time of my appointment, and then sat down just looking to log into the Zoom link, and then see the cancellation. So maybe I'll record an episode later on today. I think that's something I can do. Watch some ER and just relax and rest. Perhaps incorporate some presence and mindfulness as I watch, so I can watch it sort of mindfully, enjoyably watching it, not just kind of like actively watching it, not just kind of letting it kind of drone away in your mind. Also forgot to mention, just jumping back to the eye test situation, the optometrist, after she was doing, is it lens A clearer, lens B clearer, and all that stuff. She mentioned that my prescription had kind of reversed or something, which is I think what prompted me to say, hey, I'm not sure how accurate I am with these lens A, lens B situation that she was asking me about. And I was trying to tell her that, but I think, I can't remember what she said, but I think she got some of that information, and I think if there was a concern maybe of my accuracy, maybe she would kind of take that into consideration. But I think before, my right eye was weaker than my left eye, and then there's something about short distance and long distance. I can't remember. Again, processing it, I can't even remember what she said, or I didn't process it correctly. But there's been some reversals. I think my left eye is now worse than my right eye, I think. Or so they've switched, and she's mentioned like my left eye is like -1 to what it was before, and the other one is -2 or something, whatever that means. Yeah. I think I may go out and upload this now, because I feel like once I've settled down and I'm kind of comfortable, probably it'll be harder for me to get outside and do it, I think. Yeah, so it might be, especially when I'm still in my wet clothes and stuff, I may just go outside and upload this. And it's always stressful thinking of a title for this, because there's all the stress about having a good title for it to be seen by the right audience. I think I'm quoting YouTube tips here, but yeah, maybe I'll think of something. What I do for my title is try to give like an accurate portrayal of what I'm talking about, or just something that's highlighted. So it'll be something like, my symptoms being masked, or understanding about involuntarily masking my symptoms. Something I'll include that, I think. Maybe I'll include something about getting an eye test done, because I think I rambled on about that for a while. So a large portion of this video is about getting the eye test done. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna end this video. Okay, take care. Bye.